What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome to PH Pigeons. Okay, so first off, I want to address the fact that I said there was going to be a live stream at 8 o'clock. The reason why I've decided not to do that right away is because the last time I did a live stream, I lagged pretty nasty. So I don't want to live stream off my phone. I want to actually get a laptop and live stream off of that instead. And I just haven't set that up yet. I'm not sure if I can just tap in directly to the camera and whatnot, so I got to check that out. But there is definitely one coming in the very near future. With that being said, let's move on. Strap yourselves in, sons. This is probably going to be a long one. And it's kind of like a repetitive theme. You know, this is what inspires lots of videos, repetitive themes. I see things over and over again. I'm like, I'm going to talk about it. Actually, I want to talk about something else too, so it might be a double upload day. Let's see. Okay, the problem we have with overpriced Hondas. All right. Now, I will say this. Honda is what introduced me to my love of cars. With racing, modification, and cars in general. Honda is my go-to brand, and I'll never turn my back on it. I'll always be a Honda fan. Honda will definitely be what I continue to do most of my work in, if not like 99.9% of my work. So with that being said, as I got older, as the years went by, and I learned more, understood more, I learned to appreciate other cars, other manufacturers, other eyes, all that shit. As a matter of fact, if I was to buy a brand new car right now, the chances are it would not be a Honda. All right. I personally don't believe that Honda has the best bang for your buck car on the market anymore. So with that being said, talk about like I said, the overpriced Honda problem. All right, so first off, there's two big misconceptions that people get. People think that I spent this much money on this car, so I should get at least as much, or I spent this much money for a build, so I should get at least as much when I sell it. All right, so first off, you have to understand that you are never going to get your full money back. Whatever you spend, whether it's labor or stuff you did yourself, you're never going to get that back. This is the reason why part outs have become the popular thing. Most people will take a crack at, even the people who know better, like myself, will take a stab at selling their car for what they think is a fair value of what they have on it, you know, and that's just valuing it at value of parts and not even including their labor for people who really build their cars, you know. So if a guy spent like $12,000 in parts, say $12,000 in parts, and he has a car that's making 700 horsepower, then 6,900, $7,000, $8,000, maybe try to sell it for that. Sit on it for a while. Nobody's going to buy it. Part it out. Still not make the full 7 or 8,000, but make a little bit closer to it than further away. All right. So now, so to talk about this, you know, never making back what you think. You got even when you like buy a brand new car, if you drive it off the parking lot, once you drive off the parking lot, the car loses as much as 11% of its value. So even a brand new car that you literally just put a mile, like a 0.2 of a mile on, has lost that much of its value. All right. So for you guys out there who have your fucking single cam cars with rims lowered and paint job, you know, out there asking $3,000 or $4,000, that's just crazy, man. Especially for a car that's, you know, as old as you are. That's just crazy. And at least one thing I can respectfully say for the other brands is you don't see other car enthusiasts out there with their old ass shit trying to make that kind of money. So yeah, man, like it frustrates me too, seeing like, bro, your little single cam shit, like, what is so special about your shell? Because you're swapping shit that is worth that much money. Like in 9 out of 10 times, you know, most people did exactly what, you know, a lot of people do, and they buy a bunch of fucking cheap parts, knockoff parts, to mod this car and get like a cheap $500 or $200 paint job and try to sell out like that. Now, there'll always be that one, you know, suck up kiss ass guy who's like, yeah, don't worry about the haters, bro. Sell your car like that. I sold mine for that, or I bought mine for that, you know. Well, yeah, there are some suckers out there. There are some people, you know, like I say, that buy, like the same kind of people who buy a lot of shit name brand, you know, like they just have to have the expensive shit because they makes them feel like, you know, what they bought is worth more. But it doesn't necessarily mean just because you pay a high price for a turd doesn't mean that your car is not still a piece of shit. Um, so I wouldn't definitely never pay that kind of money for a Honda when I'd be looking for like, you know, like what's more rare of a clean car to have, like a 240, like a legit mint clean 240 S13 or S14. That car's worth spending a couple thousand on. Shit, those motherfucking shells can be in kind of bad shape and still make $2,000. But Hondas are a dime a dozen. They are everywhere. Like, even in a non-Honda town, it's not hard to fucking go on Craigslist and find a whole bunch of Hondas for still cheap. You know, so it kind of makes it hard, like, when you think you can put some, you know, fake aftermarket wheels on your shit, paint it and lower it, and thinking that you deserve, like, $3,500 for the car. You know, personally for me, when I look at a car, like, to justify a price on it, I'm looking at how much power it makes. So, even if you have a B series, like let's say, GSR or even a Type R, like if you're asking for three or four grand, I don't give a shit if it's a legit Type R in your car. I'm gonna still laugh at you and call you fucking crazy. Why? Because there's been multiple times in my that I've had cars that are making over 400 horsepower that you can't get fucking $2,000 for. And I'm not saying because the car was, you know, a shit box, but even if it was a shit box, if it was a driving shit box that made 400 plus horsepower, like, you can get a stock Type R swap from a JDM shop for like $2,500. So, like, if the engine swap is making 400 plus and is built, you know, that, you know, $2,500 doesn't even come close to touching the engine, let alone the entirety of the swap and the turbo kit. So, again, you know, selling your car for that much and laugh at you, call you crazy. Another example of this the other day was this, you know, with engines, selling engines. This guy, he's listing on sale or for like one of the Facebook groups. It's like national. He's like selling fully built, you know, like engine GSR. And first off, you know, fully built is one of those things that gets thrown around too much. You know, fully built in an engine is everything that can be modified has been modified. Almost no engine is fully built because 9 out of 10 times people don't replace the crankshaft. So think about that. You got something stock in that engine, something stock that came with that engine, not fully built. All right, built is a much safer term to use. You can use built if you've done some reinforcing in certain areas. You put pistons and rods, you've built. All right, you're built. You're not fully built. There's a reason why there's two different versions of this phrase. All right, so let's say go back to this guy. This guy had a, you know, fully built engine, you know, and it was like stock GSR rods with ITR rods, ITR pistons pressed on, and anyway, that was pretty much it. Like bored, honed, clean, ITR pistons on GSR rods, and the head was built, bored and polished, cams and shit, you know, and valve train. So he was asking like $3,500 for that. And honestly, most of his money was in the head. The block was, you know, in my opinion, like shit. You know, because it's, you know, it's $100 pistons on stock rods, you know, and whatever money is worth in the block is from the machine work if it's fresh and unrun. So that's why, you know, and that's, I kind of, you know, I try to avoid throwing shade on comments like that, but I was like, I wasn't even hating. I was just like, look, dude, like, because in his rant, he's like, fuck you, you know, prematurely saying fuck you to anybody who's going to hate. He goes, anybody who knows shit about Hondas will know about this block. So I was like, ding, I know about Hondas. I was like, and so I said, you know, kind of being smart, I was like, anybody who knows anything about Hondas knows that those are $100 pistons pressed on fucking stock, you know, rods, and just like in pretty much anything that you got worth of value is machine work, and like all your money's in the head. So you're over here ranting about, you know, I paid $3,500 for this, so if you don't fucking come close to that, then I'll just keep it. So I was like, dude, just keep it. I was like, keep it. Understand where you fucked up to major losses. Like, it just seemed like, damn, I got fucking robbed out of my money. Run that engine until it dies, or until you get something better, and then sell it for a decent, reasonable price. Or, you know, or prepare to sell it for a much lower price than you paid for everything. All right, because you gotta understand that when people are looking at your shit to buy, they're not looking at the labor that you spent. They're looking at the price, the cost of the price of the parts you used, and that's where they're gonna justify their shit. You know, and I don't blame them. I would too. I'm like, if you buy like $500 worth of parts and then like the labor to install is $1,500, I'm not paying you $2,000 so that way you can get your labor money back. That's fucking ridiculous. It's like, I'm not even gonna give you $500 for the parts, even that's what it's worth. I'm gonna offer you a decent amount less for a negotiation room and go from there. But I'm not paying you what you paid for your shit. I don't give a fuck if you didn't use it. If I wanted to pay brand new, I wouldn't be looking on a fucking forum for resale. I'd be looking on eBay to buy it brand new myself. So that's again another thing you have to understand when you're not going to get your money back. If you want to get your money back unused, then you're better off going to eBay, and then eBay's going to take their cut. So you're still not going to get 100% of your money back unless you price it for over what you paid for it, and hope somebody catches it and buys it. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's just some crazy shit, man. I don't understand. Like, there's a lot of people on here complaining. Like, I know it's tax season, but you guys just stop trying to sell your 1998 Civic for $6,000. And I agree with them. It's ridiculous, man. These guys aren't even getting their money back, anywhere close to getting their money back. And but they're still trying it, and all you're doing is frustrating everybody. And it's just crazy, Just try to have realistic expectations of what you have. I'm not saying you have to sell it at crackhead prices, but sometimes you get got, and like even me, like if you go back and watch that old story of mine where I went through Speed Factory, I paid almost $10,000 in between labor and parts. And there was a couple times that I found out over, going back and checking everything that I got robbed. That I was charged for 1,000cc injectors. They bought 750s. I paid $500. I gave $500 for a turbo that I never got. And there's a couple other things that was along those lines. I was told that at the time I had a block guard installed and I didn't. Back when I thought block guards were worth something. So there's these little things these little nitpicking charges I got robbed for. That's what I told the dude. Is like, keep your shit, dude, because you know what, you're not making anywhere near that. And being angry on your post, and calling people fucking names they're people who are going to justifiably hate on your shit, that's just, kind of ridiculous. Nobody cares about your labor, guys. Nobody cares about how much you put into it. And me, personally, I won't even buy a running Honda unless it's like $1,000 or less. And, I like to buy $800 for running Honda. And they're like, running car, $800. Well, yeah, I mean, $800, gets you like a single cam that needs work or whatever. Most of these Hondas aren't perfect. Most of them got issues. Like the last couple cars that I got that were running, I had to rip them apart and redo them to get them to stay alive. So why the fuck would I want to take the risk of spending more than $800 on a car that runs that might fucking blow up at any minute? This is why I don't even buy engines and just put them in a car, even if it's somebody I know. I'm going to open that engine up and redo it, whether it's going to be for a stock daily or not, because I just don't want to take the bullshit chance wasting my time to put an engine in a car for it not to work. So what I do, I like to, build from the ground up. I like to build from a shell. You can get a shell for a reasonable price, or like I like to do, I trade engines for shells, or running cars with either one, depending on the engine I'm trading, I guess. And then I build from there. But it's almost kind of like, even as time goes by, it's kind of harder and harder to want to buy a Honda, because it's either abused or seriously overpriced. But on the good note is, nowadays I've been seeing the trending for this past year or so that like EP3s and RSXs and shit, they're seriously dropping in price. Like, it's a regular thing for me to see one for $2,500 now. And $2,500 is still like way out of my price range, except for tax season. So that means I might be able to get one. Probably not now. Next year I would expect to be able to. Next year income tax, or even maybe later in the year, depending on how much money I'm making or whatnot. So when you see, what do you think about when you see these fucking guys out there? I think they're fucking kind of like toxic sellers, man. You're thinking you're asking the world for your Honda. I think that's why these things are, seller's market, not buyers. But if you're one of these guys who thinks that I'm not saying anything bad about you, but if you're one of these guys thinking that you're gonna go out there and use your $10,000 in labor / parts receipts to sell your car for that much money, you're crazy. Nobody's going to buy your 98 Civic or 92 EG, no matter how much power it makes, when they can take $8,000 and go buy a fucking S2000. So these are just things to consider if you're in the idea of selling or whatnot. Anyway, cool. I guess this is all I got to say about that. Mine's a little loopy again. I'm on antibacterial medication. That's actually why I'm home right now. I didn't go to work because I got this huge baby head growing out of my stomach, and doctors think it might be staph infection. Hope it's not. but I've had staph a lot before, so it could be. Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap that up, and because I feel guilty about this not being like the greatest video, I'm gonna make another one right after it, and I'm gonna upload that one too. All right, guys. So talk to you later. Oh, all right. Oh, I forgot. Social media links are in the description down below. You do not need to ask my permission to ask me a question. If you got a question you want to ask me, just ask it. If you ask my permission to ask a question, I will ignore you. Also, as much as I like to be here and talk to subscribers, and I usually answer subscribers right away, I'm not everybody's personal Google when it comes to builds. 9 out of 10 times, the chances are that anything that you have to ask me about a build going one way or another, I have already covered on the channel. So I will give you that information. And if you ask me another question and it still doesn't seem like it's moving in a new direction based off of what I've talked to and given to you, then I'm going to leave you on your own. And I'm not even going to bother explaining that in a personal DM anymore. I'm going to try and leave that message here in the videos to try and avoid any kind of craziness. All right, so yeah, now I'll leave y'all guys at it, and peace. Thanks for watching.